Hello everyone. I hope all of you had a great weekend. You did whatever revision work is required, essay writing, and even if you didn't, it's always good to have a break. Now, coming back to Monday, we have a Hindu, the daily news analysis, and as always, we are referring to the Delhi edition. Now, when we look at the front page, we see two things over here. So, one is the elections to the office of president is taking place today. So this is there, and Election Commission of India is responsible for this. We have talked about the Electoral College, so we're done. Moving on to the next, we have opposition has picked up a candidate for the vice president's poll. So this article over here is basically telling us what all things happen between the political leadership. Not of it is not of interest from exam point of view. What we should be aware of is the constitutional provisions, the office of vice president, so all of that. Okay. Now, just like the elections to the office of president, even the elections to the vice president are conducted by the Election Commission of India. In fact, let us refer to Article 66 of the Constitution, which provides for this mechanism. So I hope this is visible to you. So Article 66, and it says the vice president shall be elected by the members of an electoral college. Naturally, people who can vote. So that is electoral college. And this comprises of both houses of parliament. That means Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And this includes nominated members. So besides elected members, even nominated members are there. For example, when elections to the office of president takes place, you don't find nominated members over there. Next, we have it is done via a system of proportional representation by single transferable vote, common for president as well as vice president. Okay, now terms have been given for eligibility for elections as vice president, citizen of India, age of 35 years and above. This is important and should be qualified as for election as member of the Council of States. And we all know that the vice president, vice president, when they get elected, they become the ex officio chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. So we are done with this. So let's move on to the next one. So Delhi Chief Minister urges Prime Minister to clear his Singapore trip. So we get it, Chief Minister wants to go to Singapore, Prime Minister or this central government has not given permission for this. Okay, so we have it over here. Now, why did Kejriwal, Delhi Chief Minister, want to go to Singapore? So there is a World Cities Summit that is going to take place from July 31st to August 3. Fine, so World Cities Summit, that is important. Rest, not important, not really important. We can always talk about federal structure later. World City Summit, that can be asked in your pre. Okay, so let us see what is the World Cities Summit. So we have the website of the World City Summit over here. So first of all, what do they do? Naturally, they will be talking about, there'll be world leadership, like Delhi Chief Minister is going. So they'll be talking about issues associated with cities. So they at this year's theme, every summit has a theme. So this year's theme is livable and sustainable cities emerging stronger. So how do we do that? Now we can think about it: urban problems, urban issues, urban challenges, GS3 means. Okay, so that is there. So this is what they are going to do. So this is the theme, 4-day event, which will be, there'll be a lot of world leaders over here. There will be mayors of the cities. So even the corporate private sector who can play a role in providing certain services, solutions. So that will also be there. Now I was thinking, like UPSC can ask, like, which of the following, the World City Summit is associated with World Economic Forum, so like that organizations. So this is primarily done by the government of Singapore. So their ministry is responsible for this. So I checked this, your organizers over here. So typically Ministry of National Development and then Ministry of Environment. So their government authorities of Singapore is doing this. Okay, so we're done with this thing. Now moving on to the newspaper. Focus on food energy crisis, says Indonesia's president. Okay, so this is with reference to the upcoming G20 summit. So the group of 20 most important countries would be sitting together, and they're saying focus on food security, because Ukraine-Russia war is taking place. Food security has been a matter of concern. Ukraine kind of the wheat basket of India, so that way. And energy security has also been concerned. The fuel prices have increased because of the war. Then the sanctions have been imposed on Russia. So focus on food and energy crisis. Shed egoism, right? US Russia tensions, shed egoisms. US West Europe sanctions, restrictions on Russia and all those things. Stop this. Stop. Russia Ukraine war is taking place. They are not stopping the war. So shed that egoism. COVID-19 vaccine dose tally crosses 200 crore mark. Obviously, nobody will ask you this. But we get to know certain initiatives in this article, successful initiatives which the government had undertaken. We can use these as reference while writing our answer. So here it says that there were certain initiatives which were responsible for this huge, humongous task of 200 crores vaccine. So that is Har Ghar Dastak, right? So door-to-door campaigns. So like this, you can refer for other immunization drives, immunization coverage being weak, or implementation of certain schemes, or for your, what do we call that? Women dropping out, girl child dropping out of the education system. Okay, Har Ghar Dastak. Workplace, school-based vaccination, that is there. So vaccination of persons without identity documents. So all that was done. Okay, now you can see this very slowly. I'm browsing over this. So you can have a look what all things were there. Okay, this is a theme actually. Free bus travel for women comes at a price. Not really directly related, but yes, what we can pick up certain theme over here. So issue of women, that is part of GS1. Women, what is the government doing with reference to women? GS2. Okay. Now here we have Delhi government has been talking about free public transport for women. So women get this pink tickets so that they can travel for free. So it allows urban mobility, which is a good thing. Cost-effective mobility for women it's an incentive for them to work. So that way it is good. Okay. Now this article is saying that when these women are traveling in the regular buses, even for free, it is coming at a price. They have to undergo some harassment in the process. So they are stayed, they get this male gaze over here, which is not good, which takes place in the bus stops. There is a safety concern. Sometimes they are inappropriately touched. So there are certain concerns over here. So here we have a response of the police that they're saying that we are following a zero tolerance approach. We are trying to improve the infrastructure. We're trying to sensitize the police. These were points. Besides, there needs to be certain, vulnerable areas. So increase policing over there, or areas which are secluded, areas which are dark. Those are more unsafe places. So taking some preemptive measures over here. For example, having more PCR vans or having street lights in some areas. So that will help ease the situation. Now you see the issue of women's safety comes to the forefront over here, which is very, very important. Okay, so UPSC actually asked us a question with reference to the rise in crimes against the women. So what obviously causes, measures, we need facts also to write this answer. Okay, so shifts in our leader. Yeah, this is important primarily for two things actually, for pre as well as for mains. So we get to know about an institution known as DFSL. What is that? Directorate of Forensic Science Laboratory, which is based out of Mumbai, right? So naturally for Directorate for Forensic Science, and this is basically what it is doing is, uh, especially this cyber forensic. So they are doing this, so computer related data and helping the police in getting information, investigate the crime. So all that it is being done by this. And they played a very pivotal role during the investigation of the 26/11 terror attacks. Okay. Now, see, we have to know about the DFSL. This institution is there in the news. UPSC has a tendency to ask these questions. And I also had some questions like, is it a national body? Is it associated with particular states? It's only with reference to Mumbai because no such reference has been given of a national body as such. Okay, so that is one thing. Next is cyber crimes, cyber security from the point of view of internal security, GS3. So that is again a theme over here. And then one term, interesting term that came over here was gate analysis. So what is this GAIT analysis over here? So that was also there. So this was basically, this is a technique mentioned marked over here. So it is a process where a person's manner of walking is compared with CCTV footage of the accused. So you know when they have to identify a person who was found in one CCTV, then another CCTV. So you can't see the face clearly. So by means of the manner of walking, so people walk in different ways. So analyzing that and trying to identify the accused. Okay, now let's read more on the DFSL over here. Yeah, 1 second. Yes, so we are on DFSL and this naturally comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. It's not so natural actually because there is Ministry of IT and Information Technology also, you know, so cyber and that ministry, the terms go together. But this is coming under Ministry of Home Affairs. And it is there in different states. For example, when I was researching this, so I found DFSL at Mumbai with Mumbai government over here, Marathi literature, Marathi website. Then for Karnataka also, so they're there in different states overall. Okay. And then there are several regional bodies. For example, I was reading on the Maharashtra website, so there are regional bodies also. So here it is mentioned, like there are 7 regional forensic science laboratories. So within the state, there are regional bodies which are collecting all the data and everything is getting aggregated at the central level. Okay, so this is there. Now moving on to this thing. You see this image over here? What can you do with this, right? Now look below this. The overflowing Nagavli River in Raigad district of Odisha. This is important. So let us see this river now. Where are we on this? Yeah. So Nagavli River is pretty important actually. So I was doing this. So we should know some basic idea about this. So it is also known as Langula. Forgive my pronunciation over here. So it's one of the main rivers of southern Odisha and northern Andhra states. I think you can visualize with this only. So where it is based. Now we should have some additional information, right? So you can Wikipedia this thing over here, you will get it. And you know what? I actually did more of this research and the Andhra government, the Andhra government had like series of reports, series of things like for pollution, what to do. So they had committees for all these activities over here, which was important. So you can actually easily find that also. Okay, so we're done with this. Now, train services to resume on Assam Hill section, right? So floods issue that is there. Violence breaks out in Tamil Nadu over school girl's death. So a school girl, not really. I'm discussing this from the point of view of case study, GS4. Just giving you some idea. So in Tamil Nadu, there was a school where, unfortunately, there was a child. So there's this girl child who was found dead in the hostel. The parents feel that there was a foul play over there. So people were protesting. parents, etc., were protesting because naturally their safety of the reward, safety of the child is a matter of concern. Suddenly, some youthful people came and vandalized everything. So now there is a situation of law and order situation over there. Right? So it kind of becomes a case study over here. Okay, so what can be done? Possible event of a crisis over there. How should that be mitigated? Those things. Okay, pre actually, how Asian Games paved the way for a custom or tradition known as Anayuttu in Kerala. So Anayuttu is an annual ritual at the Sri Vadakanuthan temple in Thrissur. Right, so this is there. And what does it happen? So in this, the elephants are fed with special food from Sunday. It is done to propitiate Lord Ganesha. So make Lord Ganesha depicts elephants, and if Lord Ganesha is happy, you will get prosperity. So like that. Okay, so this is that. Now, how did this start? So that's what it is saying. For you, I think till here it is sufficient. Overall, this Asian Games was to take place sometimes in 1982. Elephants were to be taken from Kerala to Delhi for parade. Everything happened in Delhi, even now. So elephants had to be transported. In the meanwhile, they got unwell, they got sick, and there was a need felt to improve the nutrition of the elephants. So that is how, they initially started this custom, and then gradually this was taken over by the temple authorities. So this became a tradition. So to help them regain health, Anayuttu was started at this temple where special nutritious food was fed to the pachyderms. Okay, so this again, you get this input. So which of the following is a pachyderm? Okay, so this is done the first day of every Karika Dakam of the Malayalam calendar. So it is during this month over here. And later, many temples in state replicated this tradition. Now let's look at this. Devotees. Okay, you get this. The custom is there. Folk tradition. Important for your prelims. Nobody will really ask you about this particular custom message. I don't expect that, but yes, basic idea we should have. So this is in Hyderabad, so Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, this region over here. So devotees dressed as Potaraju, brother of goddess Kali, dancing as part of the Bonalu celebration. So Bonalu celebration is associated with which of the following deities or god? Fine, you get it? Goddess Kali. Women carry bonum, the traditional offering of pots of rice for the goddess. Fine. So bonum, you get these terms over here. So important. So same things now. Next, Kerala course, mulling on two options on the ESET case. Same thing we have been talking about actually. Okay, now let's quickly look at the editorial and opinion section. So first of all, we have this from political perspective, who should be the ideal candidate for the vice president. Not important. Two messages from three photographs. Again, more political over here. So let's leave it right now. A lackluster presidential race in the making. So fine, US, they're starting to talk about elections to the office of president. Done. We get this input over here. Preserving democracy in India. We need vigilant opposition. Very well. So that is there. Now, this was the article that comes to light, which seems very, very important because this article is telling us about USA's foreign policy with reference to West Asia. Now I hope there is no confusion between West Asia and Central Asia, right? Map wise, you can Afghanistan, Tajikistan, so that region north of India, basically, that is Central Asia, and to the west, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, that is West Asia. Okay, so we had President Biden who was visiting Israel, and later he went to Jeddah, a city in Saudi Arabia. So naturally, some statements came out, and that helps us depict President Biden's foreign policy towards West Asia. So one thing they have said is, and please, this is important. So one thing they have said is that they will strengthen America's traditional partnerships and alliances in the region. So when they say this was a statement that the President Biden had made. So traditional partnerships would mean old partners of America. So that is Israel. Israel has been long-term friend, and Saudi region, the Sunni Muslim. So that those countries, they are our partners. Saudi Arabia was always there, and Israel. Okay, so we are going to do that. And in Israel, he also said that we will do anything to stop Iran from making a nuclear bomb. Okay, so this statement had come. And when he was in Israel over there, and that too on West Bank of Israel, which was supposed to be the Palestinian region, but possibly Israel is taking over this region. So there he did not criticize Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories. So I have the map over here. So this is the region, right? So this region is being forcibly taken over by Israel, part of this area. Now, please don't get confused. West Bank is actually on the east because it is the West Bank of this side, right? So it's west of this. And I am pretty sure my hands are also inverted over here. So yeah, please don't get confused. Okay, so you get this. So this is there. And when he was in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah is a city over there. So prior to this, during the time of Obama also, the relation actually was on a declining this thing. Then this incident had taken place where the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was accused by the CIA of ordering the killing of a dissident journalist, so Jamal Khashoggi. Right, so this wasn't like in the US, so they were critical of this, but now they have warmed up over here. They two both met together in the top. And he said that, see, we have to focus on the traditional partnerships because, all these issues will keep taking place, but we have to be firm on our relations because if we are losing out on the world politics at the moment. China is taking over, so we have to be firm, and we have to be firm with our that we are friends. Israel is a friend, this one is a friend, Saudi Arabia, so that China doesn't come over there. So that is the main reason over there. So and that is what he said. So US would not walk away from West Asia, leaving a vacuum for China, Russia, or Iran to fill in. At the same time, he said that the human rights will remain the center of a foreign policy. But then Jamal Khashoggi case, that is a human right violation. Then we have the Palestinian occupation, that is again a human right violation. But there he has not talked about this. Now, this is a very interesting theme. Now, the second paragraph is an analysis of all this. So prior to this, like Barack Obama was keen that the sanctions imposed on Iran to be moved aside. He realized that Arab is what it is. Our dependence is coming down that time. US had identified new oil reserves. Their dependence on Saudi had come down. They said, why not focus on Iran now? Why not empower them? So sanctions were to be removed. And that was known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So Iran sanctions were removed. But later on, during the time of Donald Trump, the sanctions were reimposed because there was a concern that Iran is going into this nuclear program, secret nuclear program. Okay, so that was there. And Donald Trump now started to focus back on the Arab region. And with them also, US has to balance between Israel slightly on the north, and the Arabic group, Saudi Arabia and all those countries. So there is a Jew state, Israel, surrounded by Arabs. And this Jew state, small state, because it is getting this aid and support of Israel, it has given the Arabs a tough time with the wars and all those things. So they have been very advanced. But they are arch rivals. So tensions between, what they're doing is, at the present US, that Israel, they're trying to normalize ties between Israel and the Arabic group. So first time we had Donald Trump's, whose proposal ignored the Palestinians and his focus was on Abraham Accords. which saw the normalization of ties between Israel and Sunni Arabs. Okay, so let's pause here. Now let's come back to what is Abraham Accords. So Abraham Accords is a joint statement between the state of Israel, UAE, and the United States. So that took place in August 13th, 2020. So imagine Israel, UAE, Arab country, and USA. And later on, other countries also started joining in, like Bahrain, etc. Other Arabic groups also started joining in. Even Egypt is considering it. Right, so this is taking place. So this is taking place at this one time, and the sanctions have been reimposed, have been made more stringent on Iran. So somewhere, so Shia Muslims over here. So bloc politics is emerging. So Sunni versus Shia, Arabic versus Iran. So that is coming up. So that is taking place. So the idea is to bring back the regional balance and energy security. Now, one reason could be that the US wants the support of the Saudi, given the sanctions on Russia. So that Saudi increases the production and brings in more oil. So that could also be a reason. Okay, so that is, with Biden going over here. So that is there. What it seems is that the Israel and Sunni Arabs are the pillars of America's West Asia policy. With the Ukraine invasion, it needs more Saudi Arabia to pump more oil. Right, so this is there. Now this is leading to creation of a bloc against Iran. Naturally, pro-Iran, anti-Iran, Saudi, etc. don't like Iran, so that has always been an issue. So this is not a good thing. This is not a pragmatic thing. That is what this article is eventually saying, which is not good. It will actually lead to more regional tensions rather than solving them. Okay, now I remember we talked about the ITU2 and we correlated this with the Abraham Accords. So India was part of the ITU2 summit, and the Friday's news talked about that India would provide land for food processing area sector to these to anybody who wants within the group, that is the ITU2 group wants this, we'll provide them. And there was a remark that ITU2 is kind of a West court by the UAE, the UAE representative to India. So what is this? So ITU2, you should know which all countries are part of it. So India, Israel, US, and UAE. And now look closely. You find this Israel, US, UAE, Abraham Accords. And that is what, it's about investments and all those things are there. These countries working together. And this would be good for the country also because India will get investments and all those things, plus oil also. Then there is Indian diaspora, Indian population that is living in these countries. So their safety and security. But at the same time, there is a possibility that India may get drawn into the bloc politics. So pro-Iran, anti-Iran, this group. So which India would not like. India wants good relations with Iran. Okay, so this is it. So here we go on this thing, and now we are on. Why is Kerala protesting Supreme Court's ESZ notification? I'm not doing this, but this should be common sense actually. We have talked about this actually multiple times. Okay, so this is there. I think I shared on the Telegram page also today. Telegram, and we also have an Instagram page. Sometimes I post all these things over there also. So monsoon sessions to commence, and 32 bills are listed on a very short session, right? So 32 bills. So one thing is that before the session starts, these opposition says that we have certain issues with your government, things you're doing like controversial Agnipath scheme, inflation, misuse of investigation agencies, unemployment. So we want to talk. Center says, okay, fine, we'll talk on this thing. So that is there. Then they're saying, are you all right? 32 bills without with such a short session, it is not possible. So the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi has said that, see, all these have been cleared have been discussed already by the department related standing committees of the parliament. And we are introducing these 32 bills, and we make sure that no bill will be discussed, will be passed without discussion, which hardly ever happens actually. Most of the bills go without discussion. Okay. So these are the bills that are there that are important, right? So the 32 bills include the following bills. So these laws are important. I feel that these topics are also important for your exam. You'll have to prepare an analysis. That's why I shared it, so that I have a note of these things. All party meeting on Sri Lanka tomorrow. So this is not just the South, it's all parties, right? At the pan India level. So that will be there. TNCM has met the Prime Minister on issue. Okay, of aid to the nations. They want Tamil population in Sri Lanka. Okay, India-China holds 16th round talks on Ladakh. I'm not even cared to read because there is hardly any progress that takes place over here. Okay, Navy decommissions Sindhu Dwaj. Finds this submarine has been decommissioned. So this is a Kilo class submarine acquired from Russia and has been in service for 35 years. Now we naturally get it. What is a Kilo class submarine? Sindhu Dwaj is a Kilo class submarine. So Kilo class submarine is actually a class of submarines that are borrowed from Russia. Not borrowed, they are taken from Russia. And these Kilo class submarines, are these nuclear submarines? Are these diesel electric? The next question. These are diesel electric. In fact, we only have one submarine which is nuclear, that is Ariane submarine over here. Okay, now this submarine very interestingly had many firsts to itself. Many experiments etc. were to be done. This was done on the Sindhu Dwaj submarine. These are your important things for your pre also. So these includes indigenized sonar USHUs, right? USH-US. So USH-US is what? Then indigenized satellite communication system Rukmani and MSS. Then indigenized torpedo fire control system. I still didn't get what is torpedo fire control system. What I understand is if the torpedo is launched, then it can be controlled, or the way it is launched over here. Fire control. Then deep submergence rescue vehicle. So in a submarine there is a possibility that some accident takes place deep inside the water. How do you rescue those people, take people out from one submarine to another? So for that, deep submergence rescue vehicle has been created. So this was mated, this was joined to this submarine. It was experimented here for the first time. And for all these achievements, they got the Chief of Naval Staff rolling trophy for innovation by the Prime Minister. Fine, so we get some lot of information over here. Now, submarines are important for national security. They provide some stealth. People don't get to know, like navies don't get to know of other countries where our troops are there. They can fire deceptively from under the water. So very important. So at the moment, in fact, it's been quite some time, we have a bit of a shortage. We need more of submarines. So, but at the moment we have the following. So Russian Kilo class submarine, 4 German HW submarine, 4 French Scorpion submarines. So like Kilo class, Scorpion submarines. So I think a bit 2 submarines are left. So 2 of the Scorpion class are left. So we'll get that. Prachanda Nadda meet at the BJP office. Okay, so I was assuming Prachanda, basically this was left meeting the right. So the Communist Party, Maoist Party over here, their leader has met the leader of the BJP party. That's all. But it's kind of a diplomacy that is taking place. So here the Indian side has said that, see, you are part of our neighborhood first policy and you are a priority for us. Nepal, if you look, imagine Nepal, north of India, and to the north of Nepal, there is China. So Nepal is kind of a buffer state and we want close relations. We don't want China, more and more of China coming over there. We don't like that. It's not a good sign. So for India, neighborhood, this thing is a good priority, number 1 priority. So that is what they have said. And likewise, Nepal has given an assurance to India. Right, so same thing now, back, need to prioritize food and energy security. This one about Margaret Alva. Hindu didn't like the nomination, this newspaper. I read the editorial. Okay, so this is important now. Only 50% farmers benefited from loan waivers, stay study. So, the issue of farm loan waivers, economy, the health of the banking sector, the rising NPS, non-performing assets, and farm loan waivers. Is it good? Is it bad? Should we have it? Should we not have it? So very, very important topic because GS3 has economy as well as agriculture. So now we have some, you get some concrete points, some facts that you can use to write your answer. So that will increase the weightage, So when anybody is giving marks, you get more marks. Okay. So we have a study by State Bank of India researchers. So they have found out that the implementation of this is very, very poor. So only 50% of eligible farmers benefited from loan waivers. This thing is very important. Eligible farmers. Okay, so this thing they have given a state-wise breakout, and they say in most states the implementation is very, very poor. This includes Punjab, because Punjab is specifically saying because it's expected to be good. Okay, now what are the short issues with this? So one is that if the farmers know that they don't have to pay back the loan, so it will affect credit discipline. So sabotage is credit discipline. Then if this happens, then people who are giving out loans, they'll be very wary, right? So, and agriculture is a priority sector for lending. So, but the institutions will be wary, so they will not like to give out loans. And we want more money for the farmers, input money for inputs that they have to put. Okay, so that is there. Besides, when every time the government says, when elections take place actually, so when they say that farms loan will be maaf, it will be cancelled. So banks will cancel it. Now banks will have to be reimbursed that money. So that will come from the government. That is a hole on the taxpayers' money. And end of the day. And at the moment, we have all the state governments, even the center financially position is very weak. At the level of states, is normally worse than this. So there are already limited or low fiscal space. So for investments for the developmental work, etc., comes down because of this. Right. So this is there. So these are certain things. So and this also leads to difficulties in creation of productive investment in agriculture infrastructure. So rather than creation of capital, revenue spend is taking place. Okay, now moving on to this. Okay, so this doesn't look very nice actually. Forest fires rage in Southwest Europe. So Southwest, you can imagine Spain, Portuguese, that region. UK is also there. In fact, this cricket series is going on, and the temperature of this United Kingdom has crossed 40 degrees Celsius. It's very difficult to imagine a temperate country at that temperature. Okay, so we have the second heat wave, right? So we have the second heat wave. So this has engulfed different parts of Europe. And this article is telling us about the various disasters that have taken place. So forest fires have increased. A lot of people have lost their lives because of this. At least 1,000 deaths have been attributed to this. There is obviously livestock, etc. that is there. Shortage of paddy, shortage of fodder for them, shortage of water. So those are certain concerns. Now see, this topic is important both for India as well as the world. We see it across the world, so we can attribute this to climate change to some extent. Why is this taking place? From GS1, the reasons for the heat wave, not second heat wave that is taking place, the explanation of the mechanisms, etc. From GS3, disaster management, what are the disaster, obviously managing the disaster, what all things are taking place, what are the after effects of that thing. Now same thing, I2, U2 and all those things that are taking place. So Iran has given a rebuttal on this. So it says US is provoking tensions in West Asia naturally. Okay, so this is done. We are done. This is the sports section. So this is it. So this basically concludes our session on the daily news analysis. So thank you for streaming in to our channel IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish. Bye bye, take care, and all the best.